Hi, Dipti. Thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I am based out of India. I work for an IT company and I'm a marketing professional. Besides that, what do you want to know? Can you be
Uh,
more specific in terms of introduction or something?
sure. Okay. So which part of India do you live in?
I stay in Hyderabad, and which is more towards the southern side of the country. And I've been staying here since last almost 10 to 11 years. Only for job purposes. The families, we belong to northern part of India. So India is a very diverse country, right? You might be knowing about it. Every state or every region has its own essence in terms of language, lifestyle, people, the culture. Everything is different at every corner of India. And so yes, moving from north to south basically is a cultural difference, a huge cultural difference. But I think the common connect which we have because of this corporate around, right? The corporate life, that makes lots of difference. So that is a global culture which is persistent across. You talk about India, you talk about US, you go to Australia, Europe, in most of the places, I think all of us can connect very well because of this corporate culture, which has common working style or similar culture across, right? So yes,
Uh,
that's the
do,
thing.
do you think that eventually cause India to become more uniform, or is this ability to sort of form your own groups virtually helping people, even though they move to a different part of India, to maintain their previous identity? Well, what do you think's happening?
See, no matter, there are different aspects to an individual's life, right? There is a professional aspect, there's a personal aspect, and there is something which comes as a hereditary to you, right? Which comes, so your beliefs, your upbringing, your heritage per se, right? So a character or a personality of an individual is defined by a combination of all these aspects. So when it comes to professional life, yes, it brings in lots of uniformity, not only in India, I should say across the globe. This common culture of the corporate world, right? But still each of us have our own individualism. I bring my individuality because I belong to north. So I have been brought up in a particular way. I have a particular language, I have an accent, I have a way of speaking, I have a facial structure, right, which might be very different from what South Indians might be having, or Europeans might be having, right? So I believe though every person is connected with each other, they have some commonality. At the end of the day, they are all individuals, and there the unique identity comes into picture. There, that is the real, I should say, the identity of a person, the individualism, which makes that person stand out in the crowd or do something which is different from, maybe I'm different from you because, not because of where we come from, but because of our upbringing and our educational background or our culture. There are so many things, right? So that defines the entire personality of an individual.
Yeah,
So
it's
I hope I answered your question.
absolutely. But it is kind of interesting how life has changed over, the past hundreds of years. Used to people were very connected with where their food came from and the actual mechanics behind their life was
Right.
there for display. But now it's all hidden beyond a whole supply chain where you no longer know how the food's being produced or where the waste goes or how houses are being built and that type of thing. So.
Right, but the origin remains the same, right? The food still comes from the farms. It still comes from the ground. So though the process has changed, but the originality hasn't changed. That raw form is still the same. You talk about your houses, you talk about your food, you talk about any basics, you talk about textile or clothing. The style might change, but end of the day, it's a cotton which produces it in different forms, right? It's a silk, it's a, so that raw material remains the same. And that is something which will always keep humans connected, no matter where they are or where they belong to. And that's the reason we can understand each other's language, right? You are wearing a shirt, I'm wearing a t-shirt. I think despite we being so different, or we have a common lifestyle, we have a common way of understanding things or using things which defines us as humans, right? So I think that factor will always be there.
Yeah,
So
definitely. We'll all have our own little individual twists and quirks and things like that.
right, very true, very true.
And so coming back to introduction to find out a little bit more about you, what are some of your interests and hobbies and that type of thing?
I do read a bit. I network a lot, and that's the reason this COVID situation has really impacted me as an individual. Um, now, what I do mostly is definitely lots of binge watching. Though I won't say that it's helping me a lot, but yes, you need some way to vent out, right? Because we can't step out. There's a lockdown near the place where I stay, and we can't step out of our houses. And so I do lots of reading. I do quite a bit of social networking, both I should say virtually and in person also. So for now, in person is more telephonic, and virtually is internet, right? So yes. Besides that, I definitely like cooking a bit, trying few things. Maybe if not every day, maybe 5 days a week or something. But yes, that's the thing. So reading, I should say the primary. I do read, not a particular genre, but yes, whatever I find interesting, I scout for it, I search for it, and then pick it up and read it. So yes.
What type of food do you like to cook? Is it mainly the food that you ate whenever you grew up, or do you like to explore foods that are completely new and different?
Uh, Frankly speaking, the food which I ate and grew up was is so elaborate that generally a person like me doesn't like spending lots of time in the kitchen. Though I like experimenting, but for me, it's like whatever is simple and whatever you can cook in minimal time with, and health factor is again a very important thing for me. I do pay attention to that thing that yes, the food should be healthy. So I do experiment a lot. I do use lots of recipe books and YouTube. But the first, I should say, the search criteria is something which can be cooked within half an hour or 40 minutes, not more than that. So first thing I'm like, okay, I have these ingredients and I have this much time. So give me a recipe which works around this. So yes, that's the kind of search I prefer doing.
That's I'm right there with you. That would be my search as well.
Exactly. I don't find it a point of spending 2 hours in a kitchen cooking something and then finishing it in 10 minutes. I'm being very honest. It's like my mom can do that. My my sister can do that. But me as an individual, for me, it's like, okay, if I can prepare something really relishing within half an hour, which might be different from what I have grown up and eaten, right? Which I have had during my growing up years, or which I should be having culturally, I prefer the other way around. Means I'll just pick up those ingredients and saute a few things with few oils and dressings, and I'll have that rather than going for an elaborate preparation. So yes.
Um, okay, so I guess coming back to the topic of today, did you know that NASA was planning to send people to the moon in 2024?
Yes, I read about it because there are quite a few moon missions which are coming in, right? There are some private ones and government ones. And I believe NASA is purely public sector. So yes, it definitely it is something to vouch for people like us when we think about it, because when it comes to these kind of huge missions or elaborate projects, we definitely, I should say, the presidents play a lot of role over there, plays a lot of role, right? So NASA has been successful in lots of space adventures, and we see it as the go-to place for that kind of, I should say, success stories. So, despite having so many private ventures happening around, you name it, Elon Musk, you name that is SpaceX, you name it, something called Moon Mission, Moon Motive, or Fly
Dear
to Moon.
Moon. Dear Moon?
Dear Moon, exactly. Means I feel, though I enrolled for it just for fun, after the first round, I didn't bother to, because somehow you do, when you see so much promotion happening around, um, me coming from marketing background, I understand how much fluff lies in a branding. So I'm not saying it's not true, or it's not honest or something. What I'm trying to say is, it definitely makes you think once, that why will a person promote something which is so true so much? They don't need to. So that's the reason, yes, NASA moon mission is something which is scheduled for 2024, right? If I'm not wrong.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
right. So definitely vouching on that. It will be a good, very big milestone in the space world for Earth per se. So
But
yes.
what do you think about sending humans to the moon, especially considering all the different challenges that we have here on Earth?
See, in today's date, Nathan, the technology is so advanced, right? We have robots. We have robots who are doing all the things in the world. Uh, and somewhere, though I agree to that idea, but I feel somewhere safety is something which should be highly considered when it comes to humans, because human life is very, very precious. It's above all kinds of discoveries, all technologies. If life is not there, look at the situation today, right? Everything has kind of halted because of this COVID situation. Why? Because there have been lots of catastrophe around, lots of chaos around. But I've never seen things getting halted in this manner. Why? Because it's coming. It actually it's directly impacting humans' life, which is the core of everything, right? Because of which anything survives. You talk about any planet, anything on this earth survives because of the life which we humans have. Humans or animals, means I'm talking about living things per se. So definitely it's a very, very, I should say, exciting venture. And it seems to be very interesting and something which any of us would like to hop into and go and experience that. At the same time, I think before that, it's very important to be very sure of what someone is doing. I'm not a risk averse person. I'm not at all a risk averse person. But at the same time, I believe risk taken with caution makes lots of sense. So as long as we are sure about our cautions, we know that there have been cases of Kalpana Chawla. I know her sister, and I've seen her struggling through that phase when she was waiting for her to come back, and suddenly the news comes in where the entire spacecraft, it breaks down, or it becomes a bowl of fire while it was crossing it was getting into the Earth's surface, right? So we have lots of instances in the past where there have been more failures in terms of human life. Okay, we have the data, we get the readings, we get the data from there, we get the pictures, all that is fine. But somewhere I feel we should try to first use lots of robots, in a more human-like robots. That is an industry which is really growing very fast. That's a technology where I don't see, I think within a couple of years, robots will be very much similar to humans, very, very similar. They are already there, but yes, they still need some improvisation. So I think with that kind of running heart and lungs and livers and kidney, we should be sending robots first, let them experience that, and then follow it by humans. So yes, it. I know maybe it will not appear to be very realistic, but at the same time, personally, I do consider human life as the foremost thing, over and above everything in this world. And where it comes to that, I think we should always look for alternatives and strive for more rather than it becomes much it lives are more important than any mission, anything in this world. So yes, um, very for the mission, but I don't think any of these agencies or any of these technologies are safe enough for humans to be transported to moon as of now. We still don't know whether the moon is breathable or not. We hear about Lance Armstrong. We don't know, right, what he experienced. He came back and he was into depression. All of us know what happened to his life after that. So, uh, how, is it first we have to weigh that, is it worth taking that risk? What are we trying to achieve if we come to know that, okay, moon is habitable or Mars is habitable? What will we gain out of it? How many people can actually go and stay there? How many can be transported there? So, if we are only keen on knowing about the moon or trying to explore Mars or any other planet, that work I think robots and our technology can do very well. We don't need humans to be there. Humans needs to be transported only when it comes to survival of with their survival on Earth. It comes to that. So yes, I feel somewhere that we should be slightly cautious when it comes to humans. So,
Now, one thing that we've learned is that the Earth is actually a very small part of the solar system, and the solar
mhm,
system is just one of trillions and trillions of other systems with planets,
right.
and they're
Yeah.
all very, very far away, and we don't know
Mhm,
how to get to them or anything like that. But one thing's for sure is that our place in space is extremely, extremely small. Um,
mhm,
and some people feel that eventually, whether that's 100 years, 1,000 years, 100,000 years from now, at some
mhm,
point in the future, um, that humanity should actually be branching out into the rest of the solar system, figuring out how to make
mhm,
it over to the next star systems and really expand throughout the universe. And I was
mhm.
wondering, uh, when you consider that viewpoint, is that something that you think will eventually is the future of humanity, or do you think pretty much humanity's future is just to stay pretty much on the earth?
See, everything is expandable. Nothing is static. You talk about anything in the world, everything is dynamic, and everything grows. So this will also grow. I'm not saying that humans have evolved uh, from, I should say, apes to the current state, and they will evolve further. You never know. Maybe humans will come with superpowers. We see that all the time in movies, and so all this vision will at some point become true, right? So what I'm saying is, till the world is or humans are capable enough to take care of the basics on the earth, uh, that should be the priority. Today, everyone is helpless. Look around us. We always used to say that we are technologically so sound. Used to sit there and claim that okay, we have reached the moon, we have reached the Mars, we have done so many things, right? But all of us are helpless today. All the doctors, all medical practitioners, all technologists, no one knows how to manage a pandemic, which is taking lives by leaps and bounds. Means everyone is helpless. Borders are closed, people are risking their economies, governments are taking all kind of decisions. Who imagined that it will be a similar situation to what happened in 1919? It's like
Hmm.
100 years. In 1 century, we have made so many improvements, so much improvement. But look at us. We are back to 1919. We don't know what to do in this situation. So definitely that work is important. I'm not saying that shouldn't happen. But if we start prioritizing things, I think it's very important to make your current situation livable properly and then think about something which might happen 1,000 years later. So I'm saying go for inventions, go for experiments, but there are other ways of doing it. Why humans? Why do you want to send humans? Create a robots of those kinds, create those kind of pulse, those kind of heartbeats, who can go there and we can read the data from here and see how much is the risk factor. And then, yes, once you are very sure that the life or the, I should say, the survival percentage becomes 85% of an individual who lands on the moon, send the person. Take some time. Do not hurry up unless and until you are very sure that you are capable of doing it. Which in last 1.5 years, my outlook towards life have really changed. I've started valuing so many small things. Not only me, I'm very sure many of us. Why? Because we understood that we were always running after larger things, which made no sense if we are in a situation where one virus can keep us in our houses closed. My car is parked in the parking since last 5 weeks
Hmm.
because I can't step out. I can't do anything with that car. It's useless to me because my life has become more important than that car or going out, right? So it's such a basic thing. What I'm trying to say is if we try to use our energies on something which is more important on earth as of now, and simultaneously prepare for the things which might happen thousand or maybe what I can say as future vision, right? We should be doing that, but we should be doing it with lots of caution. So yes, branch out, explore. That's the essence of I will say the development, and it should happen. Development shouldn't stop, but that development should always come with, we should weigh the risk factor. It's very important. We just can't keep throwing people in moon and expect them to come back safe at this point at least. uh, so somewhere I think it's important to set things right in the house first before you get into some other, before you move out, right? Or think about moving out.
Now,
So
you mentioned that some of your views have changed a lot in the past year. Can you give some examples?
Um, as an individual, I'm a very carefree person. I don't bother about things. I just live by the moment. I'm that kind of person. I don't think what will happen tomorrow, or though I do, as I said, I'm not risk averse. At the same time, I'm a very cautious person also. So as long as I know this, I have taken care of, say, top three things, rest of the things doesn't matter to me. It's more like just the moments which has to be lived through day by day or minute by minute, whatever you call it. Um, I have been out of my house since last 20-25 years, living all by myself. And last year, because of this virus thing, and it was working from home, first time I stayed with my family. By family, I mean my parents and my brother, and that is extended family as well, immediate family and extended family. After so many years, and I stayed there for a year. I realized it was when we were and we had so many distractions around it that we never understood the value of those relations or emotions or little things, right? Say simple things like food. For us, food was more like just pack up your tiffin, do those little things, necessary things, so that you can just have your food somehow, rush to office, over the meeting we are having it from a dabbas and all those stuff, right? Um, what is the value of food? What are the little things for which we never used to give a thought about? Say the deliveries. Since there were consistent lockdown for a couple of months, we realized that for little things, it's so difficult if we don't have those delivery boys or if we don't have those vegetable carts outside or we cannot step out to buy from them. Then you start valuing those things. And I learned value of lots of things after that. That the moments which you spend with your family, the equally it's like work. We used to, we were like, that company or organization will close if I'm not there. That was the kind of thinking which we had. And in last 1 year we realized no, It's like as long as I'm learning to balance my work and life and everything, it's fine. Work can live with that much balance also. I don't need to be around for 18 hours. I can be around for 11 hours and I can take care of other things with my family. So, yes, outlook towards the real things we should value in life, right? That has changed a lot. For me, it was like more like fun with friends, going out, um, just going out for a drive with music on. And those were so important that I never realized that there are things, the basics were so obvious, so obvious that I don't think uh, as an individual, I used to take it for granted, right? That food will be there, house is there, water will be there. You can commute because you have a car. You have friends around, so you can just go from here to there, or you can fly to different places because you can afford, right? Um, in that lockdown or in last 1 year, I realized no, nothing is important if your life is at stake. Nothing is important if you don't have the right support group. Nothing works if you don't have food on your table, right? So, and everything can change with one, maybe within 10 days or within a week. So, so that has changed my outlook in a sense. Don't think a lot about what will happen after 5 years. Do think about it in larger terms, but as of now, it's important to think what will happen tomorrow, what will happen now. You won't believe before taking your call, I went and I was trying to reschedule this call. To be very honest, I was like, should I go and talk to a stranger? I don't know anything about it. Should I spend this half an hour? I'm being very honest with you, Nathan. I was really giving it a thought. I had double mind that should I speak to someone who's, and then you said video, and I was like, should I, shouldn't I? So I was not that kind of person. I was like, okay, someone, I get an opportunity to talk and I talk. But nowadays, days time has become so valuable because I was reading a book before I realized that I have a call scheduled with you today. So I was reading a book and I was like, should I spend this half an hour reading this book further or should I talk to someone? And then I don't know, maybe the wiser side of the brain took hold of my thoughts and I just logged into the call. But what I'm trying to say is, yes, it has changed me as an individual. As an individual, it has changed me. It has changed my outlook towards life. I've started understanding the value of life because I have lost quite a few people during this time. My extended family, who used to just ask on calls to speak to me, and I had spoken to them one second time. I was like, no, I'm busy. I can't speak to you. And after 2 months, I come to know that the person is not there.
Mm.
So, so that makes you understand what should be more valuable, right? And that's the way it has changed. Though in lifestyle, nothing much has changed because for us, work has not got affected in any manner. Being in IT industry, our work is totally dependent on our smartphones and laptops. And as long as we have the internet connection, I don't think we are getting affected as an individual as far as the employment or basic lifestyle or those things are concerned. Um, Compared to other people on the streets. But yes, as an individual, it has also made me. I was a very bold person. It has made me slightly more fearful also. Fearful about things. When I nowadays when I get up in the morning and I receive any calls during unnatural times, unexpected times, I get very scared because it's very scary to pick up the phone at those times. You never know what you'll hear or what
Mm.
will be the news. So living that constant fear since last 1.5 months. I don't know whether you are aware or not the kind of situation we have in India as of now. It's very scary. And though I know we are safe at our homes, I know my friends are safe, my family is safe, still there is a constant fear, that constant thought that you never know what you'll hear next moment about anyone whom you know. It can be your family, your friends, your acquaintances, colleagues. So, Yes, it's this phase is slightly difficult. Apart from that, I think all of us will get back to normal once things settle down a bit. It's a couple of years. It's a matter of couple of years, and that couple of years is going to be stressful, no doubt. So yes,
Absolutely.
it has changed me as an individual. That is, yeah.
Well, I'm really glad you decided to keep the appointment. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And
Same here, Nathan.
have heard a lot about the challenges in India, and I've seen like the pictures and the news stories, and it's such a challenging time for, what is it, about 1.4 billion people? Uh,
1.7, yes. So if, the problem with India is, though we are quite developed, we are in between that developed and underdeveloped state. We are a developing country, right? And when it comes to developing country, one instance like this can change the dynamics or the economy of the entire country by itself. Underdeveloped countries, if they get affected by something like this, or developed countries, if they get affected by something like this, there won't be much change in their future per se. But for a progressing country or developing country, it changes the entire, uh, it changes the dynamics around. Uh, People who might have been, because, and again, India is a very, it's a very cautious country that is. People are very, they are big planners. They think about 15 years from now, 20 years from now. They are big savers. We have very different way of managing our banks than what there is, than what we have in US or Europe. Or people do lots of investments. People think a lot about future. And then suddenly something like this happens, which spoils the entire plans. Besides the impact which is there on the ground because of the, losing many people, or the infrastructure by itself, or workforce by itself, there's so many factors, right? At an individual level, I think every person has got affected. Every person, from work perspective, from I have a helper who comes in to my place in the morning for an hour or something. Every day she has stories to tell. And I'm not let mean despite having such a big risk, because she comes by through public transport and she stays at a very crowded place. I don't want to stop her from coming, because that work is something which is keeping her sane as of now. I understand that, because for me, my work is keeping me sane. If I didn't have work, frankly speaking, I would have lost it by now, looking at the kind of news or the situations around. So I think the same for her. And that's the reason, despite she comes and she every day she tells me once that you will not let me go now. And I'm like, no, you just come over. Don't worry, you will keep working here. So these are such a little things, Nathan. I don't think it happens in developed countries. It doesn't happen. I visit US every, I should say, alternate year or every year, since last 7 8 years. Sometimes for personal reasons, sometimes for work. There's so much difference in the economy. So much difference. The way means every person, my car cleaner, I have a car cleaner here. He came 2 days back and was like, "Ma'am, you're not asking me to leave." And it's so sorry, it's such a sorry state that even in these kind of situations where everything is locked down, these people are ready to risk things and come and work. Why? Because for their life has really got impacted badly because of something like this. And somewhere I think there is no solution to it, uh, despite having so much a democracy, and we having lots of. We're supposed to be quite a progressed country as of now, but on the ground, what we see as individuals, I think it's not changed much. It's not changed from the times my parents or grandparents were around and what we are seeing. It has changed at the larger level. We might be having better relations, foreign relations. We might be having more open borders. We might be having better arms and ammunitions, and definitely a better healthcare infrastructure also. I'm not denying that. But with the kind of population and the kind of culture which lies with, or the mindset of the people, right? It will take, I'll say, centuries together to change the things. It's not going to change so soon. So yes, that's the thing.
It will. Yeah. uh, Change comes really slowly, especially in a society that tradition is so important, and
Very true.
where you have people who have been living, in the same place for hundreds of generations, and they've
So
developed
true.
this knowledge to pass on to the next generation. It's
Mm,
they and like you said, big planners and cautious, and uh, you know uh, uh, kind of always challenged to know what to keep and what to change. It's always a
right.
difficult thing.
Very true. They are so. It's a good trait. I'm not denying it because everything has its pros and cons. But a situation like this just catches them out of the place. So people are people are lost as of now. People don't know what to do. They are means despite having all the information handy, when the situation actually comes, I don't think many of the people here around me also. You talk about my neighbors, or I'm talking about like pretty good to do people. They also don't know what to do
Hmm.
because we don't have a defined structure here for this kind of calamity. To be very honest, yes,
But
regularly it's fine, but this has taken us completely off track. Completely. Uh, Nathan, where are you as of now?
I'm in
Which
Houston,
part?
Texas.
Okay. Oh, yes, NASA.
Well, I work for a software company also. The space is a hobby of mine.
Okay, okay, wow, that's great. Last to last year, I was traveling from North Carolina to San Francisco,
Hmm.
and I had that stopover in Houston. I just, it was like first thing it clicked me was like, okay, NASA is here, and I was so keen on that next. I made actually a resolution that next time whenever I come to US, I'll definitely visit NASA. I'm going to do that. I'm so keen on seeing that place because you keep reading about it and you keep watching it in movies and all the places, right? And that's one industry which is so different from our world, very very different. So yes, that's
Absolutely.
there in my resolution.
Well, if you come to Houston, you definitely should connect with me. I volunteer at the Space Center Houston 1 day a month, so I could
Okay.
show you around. And
Oh, then I'll check your day first and then I'll come. Right? That
well,
one day month should
I,
match with my date,
but
right?
I could pick the day. I could pick the day. So we
Okay.
can make it whichever day works for you.
Mhm.
So
But yes, I have to visit NASA, at least in this life once. Let's see, once the travel opens and it's feasible for me, so I'll drop in
I'm talking about traveling. If it
there.
was, I know you applied for the first phase of Dare Moon, but you said you did it for fun. But if it was safe and affordable, would you travel to space?
Obviously, obviously, it's like exploring a different world altogether. There is so much curiosity, there is so much stories. At some point, we should be getting an opportunity to know whether those stories are right or not. How much truth is there? What
Hmm.
we see is, does it match? How much can we visualize? It proves that, right? If I get a chance to be around the space, maybe to one of these planets or to moon also, what my first thing will be, okay, humans can visualize till that extent. They have their own visual of moon, life on the moon, because there are movies which have been created for that. And is it anywhere close to what is the actual place. So I'm a very curious person. I'd love to enjoy that. Very, very curious in that sense.
So you would go to the moon, but would you consider if there was like a city on Mars and people were moving there for permanently, is that something you would consider?
Why not, Nitin? If things are, if there is a possibility of reducing the population on Earth, to be very honest, we should be doing it because that's very important for survival. What is happening today is we have already destroyed most of our nature.
Mm.
Sustainability is almost lost. People talk all about sustainability, but we know how much sustainable things are around. We need an alternate place. It's very important, which can exemplify things for people on Earth, which can become a, I should say, a sample place in some manner. Which it should. We need someone to guide us, some place to guide us, which we don't have on Earth as of now. So I think an alternate planet or alternate which where people can be more cautious or carry their learnings from here to create a better place, right? I don't see why someone shouldn't do it. Makes sense. And the human population, believe me, humans or I should say any living thing will keep growing. We don't see them decreasing, no matter how many apocalypse comes, how many earthquake comes, whatever happens. This will grow, and it will need space at some point. So I think yes, we should be exploring that.
But you do see a difference in population growth between different countries and different societies that seems to be correlated to the wealth of those societies. Like, for example, in Japan, they actually have a
Hmm.
shrinking population. Europe and in the US and Canada, the native-born population is decreasing, and those countries are only increasing because of immigration. So it seems like if the goal is to make reduce the population, the best way to do that is just to get everybody more developed and richer.
I agree, but at the same time, when you talk about Japan, you say that it has a shrinking population. It has a shrinking proportion of population, the balance of population. So Japanese are it's the proportion between the youth and the old, right? Or elderly people. Say India is supposed to be a young country with I should say 60% of people who are youth and 40% who are elderly, who are like 60 plus. Similarly, that dynamics is changing across regions, but overall number of population is not changing. It's not it takes almost 2 decades to understand what how the dynamics of a population has changed for a particular region, at least 2 decades. So they do the reading every year. They take out the average and then they decide after 2 years whether after 2 decades uh, what is the trend of the population, and that means it takes almost a century to understand the real curve where the population is going. So when we talk about shrinking population, it's more about the balance between the various age groups rather than that is a working population and non-working population rather than the actual size.
Hmm.
So China at some point tried to do lots of population control, and now China is trying to incentivize people to make sure that the families are growing because families have totally they are missing that youth population. They have lots of non-working people, they have elderly people, but the population overall has not reduced. What has happened is the proportion has changed because they stopped the growth of the population, and then people started turning old and they suddenly realized that the working force is reducing, and now they're incentivizing people to grow their families. So what happens ultimately is at some point is more about these changes in the working population, and uh, that is something which impacts the overall decision for population in a particular country more than the numbers. It's not only a game of numbers, it's more about the quality, right? So from that perspective, yes, Japan, talk about US also a bit. Europe, all of them are struggling as far as the youth population is concerned. And so, yes, they have to take steps and decide on various measures to make sure that it lives through or grows. So that's the thing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Lots of changes, especially people getting married later in life, having fewer children,
Mhm.
the living longer, and then having more robotics to, actually do more of the labor things. So
Exactly. Even my brother means my brother also bought that. We have that small robot, right, who does the mopping and cleaning of house. So last year, when these helpers stopped coming because of lockdown, my brother first thing was like he ordered that. So what I'm trying to say is, and that was the hottest selling product on Amazon at that time because all the households were trying to do that. So at some point, yes, robots are taking up lots of they are playing lots of labor work for all of us, right? At some point. So, but yes, you all should think about NASA should think about sending real life kind of robots than sending people because robots don't have attachments, right? People
right.
have relations. They have attachments.
And you could turn
So
them off and turn them on when you need them too. So
exactly, right? And they listen to you. People don't listen. That's such a big plus point of robots. That's the biggest benefit of robot. You know that? There's no one to argue what you say.
well, and the biggest benefit of a human is whenever they go, that 1 out of 10 times, are you sure that's really what I should be doing? And it turns out to be a good thing that they asked.
I know, but many times it falls back also, right?
Hmm.
That doubt, the second mind, you can call it the hesitation, the doubt, whatever you want to call it, right? At some point, it does impact the strength and courage of the individual, the perseverance to do something, the confidence to do something, and that also impacts the overall project, right? Somewhere, the moment I see my confidence wavering, I believe that at some point, I it takes away 80% of the success rate of a project.
Hmm.
So robots can't do that. They will just work as per machinery and
They just keep going at it. No, no
exactly.
confidence.
So that's one good benefit of robots, right?
Well, Dipti, I really appreciate your time. I see this as being a time capsule for uh, people 100 years from now, 200 years from now to look back on and kind of understand our time before we go and take those next steps into space. And is there anything you'd like to add that we didn't talk about?
Um, there's so many things, right, Nathan? In a sense, we spoke about most of the things which are happening as of now. Um, but some background about why you are doing this, you have not given that to
Oh,
me, the context to it.
so
So,
so originally, December 2019 is whenever I started this project. I've interviewed people every single day since then. So over
mhm,
500 and some odd interviews so far, and I got 1,300 more to go. But at that time, I was working from home. It was
mhm,
pre-COVID times, so working from home wasn't as common as for most people. And I
right,
realized that I could go a week or two with only seeing the people in my house. So my plan was to go interview people in person at the coffee shop,
mhm,
at the store, on the street, in order to
right,
get me out talking to people in person and to find out. So that's number one, a personal development goal, and number
mhm,
two, find out what people think about us going out into space and the future of humanity and what are the real challenges that they think about. So those are really sort of the two goals. Whenever the COVID lockdowns happened, interviewing people randomly at coffee shops became, how should I put it, not advised. So I had to
No, but it
switch.
has opened a scope for you, right? Able to speak to someone in India, which you'd not have done if there was no lockdown, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I've speak to people in India, Pakistan, China, Vietnam, um, Chile, Argentina, Mexico, Egypt, Europe. It's been great. So yeah, there's always everything has a good side to it. Everything.
Right. Very true. So, what do you plan to do with these videos?
So I have a website,
Mm-hmm.
countdowntothemoon.org, where I have all the interviews that I've done. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I really don't have any long range project, plans after that. Right now, I'm just struggling to keep up with my goal of doing one per day and managing the rest of life. So I haven't thought much beyond that.
No, I'm very happy to see that you're taking it step by step, right? Because when you get perspectives from so many people across the globe, um, because I have not seen any criteria for you or on your website for this interview or this discussion, right? You have just left it random. Anyone can go fill up the form and schedule an interview. So you that gives you lots of scope to segregate it as per different regions, different to do lots of analysis on different backgrounds, and then maybe do some kind of create some kind of research report, right? That's the only thing which I can think of as of now.
Absolutely, or at least some type of summary. These are the various types of ideas in the way that people think about
Mm.
life and the future, and these are things to consider. Um,
No,
yeah.
very true. You create a statistical model out of it. And believe me, even I should say, NASA's of the world will be ready to buy it. I can guarantee you that.
I- Of course, with one data point per day, that's really not enough data points for a statistical model. But it's a definitely good material for like a narrative, a story. Kind of some anecdotes and other things like that.
Right, very true. That's the reason I said it will be a good. And think about writing a book also.
I had to figure out some way to make it interesting. I'm completely enjoying it, but how to make it relevant and interesting to a set of people would be the
Right,
difficult
very
part.
true. So
So
you have to draw in lots of conclusions out of it. That's very important. Very
keep
true.
it fast-paced and exciting and interesting to read.
Very true. That will be a challenge with so much different demographics. I don't know. And that might be a very big challenge for you once you have all the videos with you, videos, audios, whatever. Right. So good.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much. I let you get back to your book or to sleep, whichever.
So yes, few minutes of book and then the sleep because it's almost 12 and I have an early morning tomorrow. So yes.
Well, thank you so much for staying up for me. And it was such a pleasure to get to talk to you. And I hope someday you'll come to Houston and I get to see Space Center Houston.
Yes, looking forward to it, Nathan. Thank you
Okay.
very much. It was nice talking to you.
Nice
Thank you very
talking to
much.
you. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And by the way, you are a very good listener. So thanks for doing that.
My pleasure. And I really appreciate your time.
Same there. Thank you, Nathan. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.